The Cigar Nerds Podcast.
And welcome to Cigar Nerds Podcast. I'm your host, Smokin' Joe.
I'm Brad Jackson.
He's alive!
Yeah, I'm finally made it for another episode.
Yeah, now it's like every other episode lately.
Yeah, I mean...
I'm glad you showed up, because like this topic, I could not get Amanda to like... I was like, she's not watching any of this shit. I'm like, I can't get you caught up on like
that's
6
weird.
seasons.
Like, Rachel, for instance, like, she fucking loves Cobra Kai. Like, normally she's like, oh, it's out. We have to watch it. Like, this is our show. Like, it's one of the few shows that's not Love Island or some shit that I just absolutely tune out on, or, you know, feel like I have to be drunk to even listen to this.
Yeah, she would probably watch it if she started, but she's one like she doesn't watch anything new. She just rewatches the same old shit, like the comfort shows. It's like either Bones or what's that, the fucking Disney one where like they're live action living in a fucking town in like Maine or whatever. Once Upon a Time. It's like it's either Bones reruns, Once Upon a Time, or TikTok. That's like all the media she consumes.
I don't know. I actually went back and watched Princess Bride, you know, few weeks, month, something ago.
It's classic.
Yeah. Rachel had never seen it. She's like, oh, that's where that comes from, and that's where that comes from. And, like, yes, have fun storming the castle.
Well, this week, since we are called the Cigar Nerds Podcast, I'm smoking a cigar. The Violition America by Gurhka. This comes in 3 different wrappers. I'm smoking the Maduro. You can get it in Maduro, Habano, or Connecticut. Nicaraguan binder over Nicaraguan and Dominican fillers. Kind of one of the cool things about this, Violition is kind of a patriotic clothing brand, and they do other stuff. But most of it, or a percentage of it, goes back to charity. So these cigars, they come 13 in a box, and they're a partnership with the Folds of Honor Foundation, and give, I think, 13% of every cigar sold goes to the Folds of Honor charity, which helps first responders and veteran families.
That's awesome. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it.
So far, it's not a Gurhka. Gurkha's great marketing, but
dude, I've been had by
miss.
So much of their marketing. Like, not that it's a necessarily bad thing. I mean, I got a nice, weatherproof travel humidor that looks like a briefcase that can double as a Pelican case. So I'm like, look, I can put my guns and my cigars in here.
Yeah, you always get cool. I mean, hell, if you buy them online, a lot of time you get like knives and shit. Or I like that Gurhka challenge coin, I think, when we bought some somewhere. But yeah, it's like hit or miss on whether or not they're good cigars. But I mean, but their marketing and branding is always like excellent.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I feel like a lot of times people that are first getting into cigars, a Gurhka, I would say a lot of times is that gateway into, dipping their toes in. And then from there you realize, oh, there's all these other things out here as well.
And I gotta say, they're not necessarily bad cigars. They're just sometimes overpriced for what they are. Like, it's a solid cigar, but it's not a $100 cigar. It's a good $20 cigar.
Yeah. But, you got to pay for the marketing, the branding, and, and I don't mind paying more for a cigar when it's something like you where, proceeds are going to first responders, vets, whatever the case is. Like, I think that's awesome.
And these aren't stupid expensive. I think they're like $15 So yeah. It's not usual, like, like Gurhka Trident or whatever, where it's like, $100 or whatever that $100 Gurhka was. But I figure there's nothing more America than 80s karate, so I had to get the America cigar to go, because this week we're talking about the final. I mean, I think we've done like 6 or 7 of these episodes. It's getting harder and harder to come up with a title for these episodes, but we're talking about the finale of Cobra Kai.
Yeah, I was absolutely excited and stoked for this. Like, Cobra Kai is one of those that I break my rule of, I'm going to wait till the entire season's out. It's like, no, I'm going to watch what I can now, and then,
At least this one,
anticipate the rest.
It wasn't week to week, but we got like, season 6 in like 3 chunks, but we got the full chunk when it dropped, 5 episodes at a time. So yeah, and if you've got to fight an evil dojo from Spain, you should call in the Strike Force, strikeforceenergy.com, promo code cigarnerds for 20% off your order. Get all jacked up on that caffeine before you kick somebody in the face.
Caffeine and Mountain Dew.
I'm going to come at you like a spider monkey.
Oh,
and
wait, I fucked that up, didn't I? God. We see, this is going to be the downside to us doing an early morning podcast. My brain, it's barely functioning when I'm here in the evenings. It's definitely not functioning here in the morning.
I'm fresh off a pot of coffee. I'm just waiting for the fact that I'm smoking a cigar on nothing but like coffee if I'm gonna like crap myself halfway through the episode.
This episode stinks, literally.
But with that, we'll be right back with the main show. Konnichiwa, bitches. We're talking Cobra Kai. This is the bad part of like me recording in the morning because I'm all like caffeinated up.
See, I don't know. I guess I'm just a glutton for punishment. Like I'm no food, no caffeine, just maybe that's my problem. Maybe I need to start doing more caffeine in the morning or something.
Yeah, normally I try to, and I need to get better at. I try to like intermittent fast a little bit, so like I'll just have coffee in the morning, and I probably won't eat anything until like noon. So it's like, yeah, I'm all jacked up, good to go first thing in the morning, and then by the afternoon I'm like, all right, I'm starting to slow down. It's time to either have a cigar or re-up on the caffeine.
Yeah, the afternoons, like, yep, I'm ready for some lunch, I'm ready for some caffeine, but the morning time, I'm just like, nope, got places to be, things to do, just get at it, I don't think about anything else. God, I'm such a sucker.
Yeah, it's like kind of like whatever Daniel San in his meditation. It's like I try to get up early enough that I don't have to have my coffee while I'm sitting at my desk working. So it's like that's like my morning meditation to get like ready for the day.
Well, at least the beauty is your office is 30 seconds from your house.
That and it's always like cold as shit out here first thing in the morning, so the coffee like keeps me warm until the heater.
Oh, that's
up
brisk.
Enough. I did get one of those like whatever timers, so it just turns the heat on and it's like.
Yes. Yeah, that'd be a good investment. You don't have to do anything, or get one that has a remote.
Yeah, that'd be a thing too.
Or Bluetooth.
My grill's got Bluetooth.
Exactly.
So I need to like Bluetooth my
Wait,
my heater.
Just bring the smoker inside,
and then I get the carbon monoxide. This is safe smoke. We don't want that smoke in here.
You only live once, Joe.
Oh, speaking of which, I went to hey, we haven't even started talking about the show yet. We're already on a tangent. We got a new moonshine distillery here local to us, and we went to me and the wife went to their grand opening. Beer kind of meh. They didn't have anything dark, so it was like lighter beers. But the moonshine, I got like a flight of their moonshine flavors. It wasn't bad, but they had a cigar table there. But of course, it's like kind of bring cigars that are more appeal to the masses, I guess. So it's like there really wasn't. The only thing I found that I'm like, all right, I'll smoke that. They had some Kentucky Fire Cured cigars in their supply, but other than that, it was a lot of flavored shit and lighter cigars that people who don't smoke cigars will be like, all right, yeah, that's pretty good.
I don't know. Like, I've never really like. If I'm drinking something like moonshine, I'm drinking moonshine. Like, I'm not like, oh, a cigar would go really well with this right now.
Yeah. It's
now,
like
I might be
a good bourbon, an old-fashioned, yeah, but moonshine's a little bit harsh to pair with a cigar. It's like, I can't taste anything now. But it was nice that it was like, because, like, some distilleries, Nofo, are so anti-smoking that I'm like, you got a big outdoor fire pit and I can't smoke a cigar out here? Like, what the fuck? That's why I don't come here. I go to the other distillery.
I think that's a Forsyth County thing.
No, 'cause I think you.
I don't know, dude. I'm so far out of
Yeah,
touch. Like, I haven't been to a Halloween. I went to a brewery, and that was Freedom Mill, because there was a band playing Halloween night. That
Yeah, I went there for New Year's once, and it's the only time I've been up there. 'Cause, I mean, most breweries when they first start off, it's all like IPAs, and they got to be open for a while before they like venture into the darker styles of beer. So like when I went there, it was like, I don't really want to drink any of this stuff that y'all have. I mean, their whiskey wasn't bad, but yeah, I got to wait till a brewery starts doing darker beers before I'm like, all right, now I can start hanging out here. Like the one up the road, they got a fucking damn good stout and a good porter too. So I've been going up the road the rare occasion when I decide to go out and have a beer.
Well, we're 5 minutes in. Like, we don't hang out enough, and this is apparent because
we're hanging out with our internet friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
well, I mean,
sit in on the conversation.
They're like, I thought we were here for Cobra Kai, and it's just these two old bearded fucks yammering on about, you know.
So yeah, we get the final 5 episodes of Cobra Kai, and just to recap from the last episode, it ended with like huge fight at the Saikai Taikai that ended with Cobra Kai's lead or whatever captain accidentally killing himself. No sewer slides or whatever, but he tried to stab a dude and got kicked and fell on his own blade, and so the tournament got temporarily canceled and everybody got sent home.
And
then the kids were like, we want to finish this. And, everyone except for kind of Daniel's son's a little bit PTSD'd because he ended last season with worrying that Miyagi had done something bad or was a criminal and didn't tell him about it because he found all this shit. And then he's like, we're not doing karate anymore. We're not giving bonsais to the people at the car dealership. And it's like, no, we're doing none of that. And kind of old enemies had to come together and convince him like this needs to happen. Like, in fact, you pick the venue, you hire the judges, like, or the referee, and he's like, and I'll pay for everything, so you can, alleviate that I'm not going to try to fuck you over, or at least not
so blatantly obvious.
At least take the bribing the judges out of the equation. I'm still going to have my guys use legal techniques on you, but I'm going to try to convince you to, it's all fair. And it's definitely like this last season, because we kind of wondered about where it was going. The theme of this season is definitely like full circle.
Yes.
Because like, all right, Saikai's back on, but we're doing it in the Valley. So it's like back to where it kind of all started, the All Valley tournament, but now it's like Saikai Taikai. They brought like the matte colors back from the 80s, like pretty much, even the referee is a guy that was, I think, a referee in like the original movie, or he was he was one of the other competitors, but he was like a guy that we had seen from the 80s that he's now like the head referee.
Yeah, there were a lot more nods, and like you said, just bringing everything full circle for this season, which was great. And I don't know, overall, like, dude, like this last half of the season, like, fucking stellar.
Yeah,
like it was like
there was so many kind of side quests in the last season or interpersonal drama, where this one we were at the tournament for most of the. I mean, there was a couple.
This is
things.
more what I thought we were going to get. When they, were like, oh, we're gonna do a season of Cobra Kai, or a series, and I thought it would be more like this, not so much everybody's interpersonal dramas. And I'm glad that, dude. If I was a skilled fighter, I would love to compete in a tournament like this.
Yeah, because real tournaments. At least gloves and footgear. Like this is bare knuckle shit, especially bare knuckle shit for people who are supposed to be teenagers. I'm like, all right, that's bullshit, but it looks cool. It definitely looks better on camera. The way they, and I like the rules where it doesn't stop if you get a point. It continues on, and it's like we're fighting for a certain amount of time. We're just going to kind of call points as it go. We're not going to stop and separate, and then. Being able to take people to the ground and score a point, I'm like, I like this style of tournament much more than like tournaments I've actually done. I hate point sparring, but like this shit was on my, all right, this is cool. I like this. I don't know if anyone actually uses this style of tournament or if it's something they made up for the show, but it looks cool.
It's called
and
blood
it looks
sport.
Fun as shit. Yeah. Surprised, fucking, what's his name didn't show up. That giant freaking roided out Chinese dude that was in like every 80s he was like the villain in every 80s action movie. I can't remember his name, but yeah, he was in Bloodsport. He was in, I think he was in Double Dragon, maybe. Like, dude, like was like he was like, we need an Asian villain in this martial arts movie. It's like, call that guy. He's like in every 80s movie.
I'm so terrible with names. I'm too good to remember your name.
It's Steve.
All right, Bob.
Was it Bob and Doug? But yeah, there's so many. I'm trying to break it down into like, because there are kind of multiple storylines, and it's like.
Well, I mean, that's the thing.
It did a good job of like kind of wrapping up everybody's story, and I'm trying to figure out which kind of storyline I want to talk about first, because it was so good this season. I like before the kind of return to the tournament, showing how everybody kind of reacted to the death. Or let's just start with probably my favorite kind of full circle is Kreese, because it starts off with him.
Oh, you only like it because of the ending.
But he goes back to whatever Master Kim and we've seen in previous episodes where he didn't start off as a bad guy. Like, he was like originally wanted to kind of be a good dude, and then just war, and then the kind of influence of old school Cobra Kai just turned him into this asshole. And he eventually, brought Cobra Kai to the Saikai Taikai, kind of wanting vengeance on Daniel and Johnny. But then that kind of hate that he had been teaching when he got his student killed, it kind of finally like, he finally realized I'm the bad guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, and felt bad about it, and he tells, Kim and them that like, I'm done, like I'm leaving, like, and even what's her name, the female lead of Cobra Kai, she's like, it's not too late for you to be a good man and a good teacher, like, it's like you should do whatever you need to do to all that. And you can see like, Master Kim, like, fucking just brutalizing his students and shit.
Oh, yeah.
And she even has that, this is wrong. Like, maybe that in times of war, that was the way to do it, but we're teaching kids, we're not building fucking assassins. And and he gives her that choice, like, she's like, yeah, he's betrayed us, go kill Kreese. And then she ends up like killing her grandfather and or uncle or whatever he was instead, and taking over the school. So now it's like, at least the Korean branch of Cobra Kai is like modernizing, I guess. It's going to be a little bit safer for the students.
Yeah, maybe.
Take the hate out of it at least.
Like you said, there's a difference between,
because she was one last season that when she first showed up working with Silver kind of seemed like an asshole, but then when her and Kreese got together, like you saw in the tournament, she was like actually like worried about her students and didn't like kind of the hatred that they were teaching. She's like, oh, she's actually like a decent person.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought they did a pretty good job with Kreese and the redemption. Even some of the stuff between him and Johnny, and like I was always on the fence. I'm like, this would be some shit to try to give this Kreese redemption just for him to then try to stab everybody in the back.
Yeah, it'd be another mind fuck.
And I really kept waiting on that. Was okay. Everybody wants the tournament on, for their own, personal reasons. And, I gotta say, I like the way that it eventually all played out.
Yeah, because when they returned to the tournament at first, and we'll save kind of Kreese's final redemption for a little bit, but the only person who returns is Tori, and she doesn't have like an instruct. She's like there solely representing Cobra Kai, and Kreese shows back up and like tries to, and he like tells her he's proud of her, and then tries to go to Johnny, and it's like, hey, I just want to apologize for everything I did, and he doesn't believe him at first. He's like, hey, I got to go watch my kid fight. Like, fuck off. But then they have that moment later on where he finds sees him there just watching, and he's like, dude, what the fuck's going on? And he's like, you threw me away. Like, what you did to me, like, basically fucked up my life for 20 years. And, he's like, yeah, the biggest thing I regret is that I abandoned you, and like, calls him son, and like they have that fucking moment where like they're both like crying and hugging each other. I'm like, oh shit, like Kreese actually finally, we've had those like false starts where you're like, oh yeah, he's back, and then no, he just falls back into that Cobra Kai asshole way of doing things. And they have that moment together, and it's like, oh no, he's like legitimately sorry for what he did after this, the death of his student in last season. It's like oh, it took that to like finally convince him to be a decent human being.
Well, I mean, sometimes the worst of tragedies, can, put things in perspective, and, oftentimes bring out the best in people if, they're looking to try to turn over that new leaf. Or, hell, I mean,
Quan was the kid that killed last season, I think.
None of those guys are young either, and it's like, all right, is this how I really want to go out with, this? Like, should probably do something of some sort
do
of...
some kind of redemption.
Yeah.
Because you got like the other side of that where it's like, he's kind of worried about his legacy, but then you've got Silver, who we now know this season has supposed to be like dying of cancer, and he's trying to do like one last thing to like solidify his legacy, but instead of trying to be a good guy, he just becomes more of an asshole in his kind of desperation to smite his enemies before he goes.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you've always got to have one big bad, and that was Silver. Like even him, driving people around, and like, no, I'm not gonna try to interfere, I'm not gonna do this, and it's like, nah, man, you are fucking, like, the show did a really good job on, I kind of predicted a little bit with the Kreese thing, and then I was like, all right, well,
especially last season after he fought Silver and Johnny stepped in to like save him, it's like, all right, they're not as done with each other as they claim to be.
But yeah, I don't know, Silver just does a great job of playing the pompous asshole, the dude that you just love to hate.
Yeah.
You know.
And then you've got the new bad guys of the Iron Dragons, and their male champion Axel fighting what the hell is it? Robbie. And he does that fucking, he basically does the old Cobra Kai thing where it's like sweep the leg, but he ends up, fucking up his knee. And I like that when they're in the room, and I'm like, are they really gonna do like the fucking Miyagi hand shit again? Like it's been done. And Daniel-san is like looking at Chosen. He's like, Chosen, do you studied Miyagi-Do? Do you know the healing technique? And he's like, Daniel-san, like, heat massage is not going to fix a broken knee. It's like, and I was like, he's like, no, he's like, heat massage do not fix broken knee. Pulled muscle, yes, I could do that, but no, like, he's fucked up. Like, he's going to be on crutches for a couple weeks, at least.
But I think that was great because that paved the way for, some of our other folks, to get some of the limelight and, some of their closure as well.
Yeah, because I like, fucking Daniel's daughter, like, having that moment, because they finally kind of make up with, she becomes friends again with Tori, and she's like, yeah, I realize you were going through some stuff, and you thought going back to Cobra Kai was, like, your only way to, like, work this shit out. Like, no matter what you do, like, we're still friends. Even if we have to fight, like, we've got your back. And even, like, helps train her for the final fight. But even before that, she's, like, kind of one of Miyagi's old lessons that, like, sometimes, like, fighting is not the answer. And she's like, why am I in this tournament at this point? Because even if I win the match, we're not going to have enough points for, like, a dojo victory. And even if I beat the bitch Zara, that means I'm just going to have to fight Tori, in the finals, and she needs this more than I do, and she probably wants to fight that bitch more than I do, so I'm just going to go ahead and step out of the way and let her have her her big match with the lady who's been basically fucking tormenting her this whole time. Which, in real life, she would probably beat the fuck out of Tori, because that's, like, the one, like, real martial artist. Like, a lot of these are, like, actors that learned martial arts, but, like, and I can definitely not pronounce her name. The girl who plays Zara, it's Raina Vallandingham, maybe? But she's, like, fucking 20-year of Taekwondo. She's, like, a 4th degree black belt, and, like, since the show's been over, I guess she's like, all right, now I'm working on my get the word out so I can be the next big female action star. So she's been posting like a ton
I think then the show did a great job, like, of her, like,
social
doing
media
the
obsessed
Instagram reels and all that.
And now it's like it's become real life, but she's not as not a bitch about it like she was in the show. But, like, yeah, she's, like, fast as shit. Like, she's doing some, like, crazy stuff in these reels and shit she's been posting. I've been like, and I don't even follow her, but she's been just, like, fucking half my damn Facebook feed is, like, videos of her, like, doing crazy martial arts shit. Hell, she was even on not like one of the Good Mythical Morning channels. Like, they do a thing now they called their kitchen channel called Cheat Meal, where they'll take an athlete and they'll go work out with them, and then they'll have, like, their big cheat meal. And she was on an episode of that, so she was in the gym, like, with one of the hosts, like, showing them all kind of martial arts shit, and it was like, she actually knows what the fuck she's doing.
Well, I mean, I think, 20 plus years of training. What did you say? She's been training since she was, like, the age of 2?
Yeah, because she's only, like, 22, 23, and she's got 20 years of training in. It's like, yeah, she definitely could be the next, like, I mean, looks like she's a decent actor, too. I mean, because sometimes you got people that are really good at action and then can't act worth a shit. Dave Bautista, but... But she looks like she can pull off acting as well as, like, serious, action stuff. So I'm interested to see where her career goes after this, because she could definitely be the next big, like, Lucy Liu or, female action star. But yeah, that when her and Tori finally get to face off, it's like, that fight was badass, because, like, I mean, she's fucking up Tori to begin with, and finally, like, they're all trying to, like, talk to her, and finally Robbie, like, hop.
Those 3 magical words.
He's like, I know what you're going to tell me. Like, I got to find my balance, but there's no balance out there. Blah blah blah. And he's like, I just came to say I love you. And she's like, huh, what? And she's like, yeah, I love you. And he's like, and they're like, she's like, oh, I found my balance now. I'm gonna go kick the shit out of it. And that fucking like 540 spinning heel flip kick, whatever hell she did, and like knocks her fucking teeth out. I was like, damn. It's like, welcome to the valley, bitch. Oh, yeah. And then after that, all the kids are like, her new fight nickname is like everyone calls her the Tooth Fairy. I was like, that's hilarious. That's how you get a nickname as a fighter. Like, yeah, just like, and especially for her, because like her character is so like vain and like internet obsessed. Getting her freaking teeth busted out is like, oh, that's just insult to injury right there.
No, you're guaranteed like several million views.
Yeah.
Like nowadays, that it doesn't matter. Good,
she can
it's
get
bad.
a fancy grill or whatever. Get some platinums in there and
Rob the jewelry store telling to make me a grill.
But then you've got, well, as we alluded to, she's alone and not having a sensei there or a dojo, and then when Kreese and Johnny have that heart to heart, because now we know Miyagi-Do, no matter what, even if they win the individual championship, they wouldn't win the overall championship. And when they have that kind of heart to heart, he's like, I'm sorry, if there's anything I could do to fix this, I would. And he's like, there's one thing you can do. And then you get that reveal, like they're like, oh, we're down to the finals. If Cobra Kai doesn't have a replacement male lead, then Axel will win the male championship. But they do, and then like out walks freaking Johnny and Miguel back in Cobra Kai. So yeah, Kreese as the former Cobra Kai dojo is like, yes, I'm turning everything over to Sensei Lawrence and get to go.
Well, I mean, I think it was
Kai
even
again.
cool, seeing Daniel's son, taking Johnny to the old Cobra Kai dojo and be like, this is yours now. It's like such a shithole, it's still wrecked and everything else, and like whatever.
It's back to where the show kind of started, and then Daniel and Chosen is like, well, we'll get to that in a second, but yeah, he gets Cobra Kai back, and I think was the show's called Cobra Kai, so ending it with like a Miyagi-Do victory would have been stupid. It needed to come back to Cobra Kai, and this was the way to get Johnny back in Cobra Kai without kind of making it still kind of like the negative connotation that it had been so far. And they'd been trying to, I like skip ahead to kind of like the end after it's over. They found the best way of combining the two styles, because like the whole last couple seasons, like we're trying to bring a little Cobra Kai to Miyagi-Do and a little Miyagi-Do to Cobra Kai, and they kept kind of clashing over that, where they both needed their own space, but then they're still like, when he's talking to his new students, he's like it's not all about offense and stuff. You also need to learn balance and defense, and I can't teach you that. So everyone who's enrolled in here is also co-enrolled at Miyagi-Do. So, because he's the best one to teach you balance and defense, and I'm the best one to teach you like offense. So they're able to get that rounded style, but having those lessons separate, so they're not always
well, and
always tripping over each other.
And I mean, that was the big change from this. Is it was refreshing to see so much of Daniel and Johnny ego put aside.
Yeah,
and
even
this season truly became
even
about the kids, even more so than the adults.
Even you hear them discussing when they're having like dinner after they're preparing for like the next tournament, and he's like, hey, I've got this student that could use a little more defense. I think he should fight for Miyagi-Do this tournament. And he's like, yeah, and I got this guy's a little more aggressive. He probably work better with Cobra Kai. So it's like, they're kind of like exchanging students for the tournament. It's like they're finally equal at this point and working together separately.
And all it took was
nice.
Sam just getting out of the way.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean,
She has caused so much trouble through this whole series.
well, I mean, and really to no fault of her own.
No,
You know, I guess, if you got a daughter, you want to see your daughter excel, and you're gonna push, but you're doing that for your own personal gratitude more than you are her benefit at that point. So it was nice to see all that bullshit get, kind of pushed to the side.
Yeah, and then both training Tori and Miguel for the final fight, and Axel, who's kind of been the heavy, turns out he's also not that big of an asshole. I mean, he did follow his instructor's orders to break the leg, but he felt guilty about it and was like, I don't want to win like that. I want to beat him fair and square. And when he has to fight Miguel, they're like, oh, his back's been broken before, and he likes to, when he does a pivot kick, he likes to turn his back.
It creates an opening. You can put him down permanently.
And you see him set up that kick, and instead of taking that shot, he tries a different kick and ends up getting his ass kicked. But it's like, oh yeah, he legitimately I want to beat this guy fair and square. I'm not gonna cheat.
Do you think he held back in that fight?
I don't know if he held back, but he definitely held back from using.
Yeah, well, I mean, he did.
Techniques.
Yeah, exactly. Like
he tried something, it didn't work, and Miguel caught him. But yeah, he was trying to at least fight fair. I mean, I don't think he was holding back because he still wanted to win, but he didn't want to win Silver's and Sensei Wolf's way.
Yeah. And
that conversation has him. He's like, I'm ashamed of you. I'm ashamed to have you as a student. He's like, me? He's like, I'm ashamed to have you as a teacher. Fuck you, asshole. But of course, Miguel winning ties up the whole tournament, and I was like, I knew it. It's like, oh, we've got a tie, and we have an old rule that we've not had to use in a long time, but if there's a tie, the senseis must fight for the final match. And it's like, oh yeah, fucking Johnny finally gets to go back to the All Valley tournament mat and fight for one last chance at not redemption, but glory, I guess would be.
Yeah. Their fight, as cool as the fight was, all of the flashbacks to the crane kick, to all the other snippets of the 80s, and even original Karate Kid all the way up into the modern season. I was just like, okay, now you're just trying to pander to my nostalgia.
Oh yeah. I mean, the whole Daniel and Chosen's gonna help train Johnny, and at first he's being too aggressive. He's like, dude's half your age, and he's fat. You can't go as aggressively. And he's like, and he even tells him dude, the only reason the crane kick worked is because you ran right into it. It's he's like, yeah, I knew you were gonna charge in, and I just let you and kicked you in the face. So you need to let him come to you, be a little more defensive. And they finally kind of figured out, and that whole
I do like
montage.
That one part though where he's just like, and if all else fails, I just charge.
Oh, but yeah, them very Rocky, running through the streets, and everyone gets behind him and starts jogging with him, and he's got him doing the Miyagi shit on the beach and crane kicks on the little pylons in the water, and I was like, and the whole you're the best around. Yes, we're bringing back the 80s training montage music.
Yes. And they said the 80s could never be duplicated, but we can get it in little tiny snippets.
I do he goes to get some advice from the preacher, and the preacher is one of the old Cobra Kai guys who's now, and he's like, yeah, remember those two girls you banged after the All Valley tournament? What was their names? He's like, I'm a preacher now. That's not a thing. And then finally after he kind of gives him advice on because he's like, I think I should get married, but I've been kind of waiting for the perfect moment. It's not. He's like, dude, like your whole life, there's never been like a perfect moment, dude. You just gotta like make it, do what do it and like make it perfect as you go. And then at the end, he's like, oh yeah, their name was like Lisa and Tiffany. He's like, I knew it. You still or whatever their names were. But the Carmen going into labor while he's like trying to come up with the proposal thing. So like they all run to the hospital and he proposes to her like in the hospital, and then like the band and like Cobra Kai preacher comes in and marries him there. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Because
I just love how the grandmother's like, Johnny, this is a house of sin. And I was like, my grandmother said the exact same thing.
Oh. Yeah, and I like that once we know that he's got to fight Wolf, the kind of book ending of that episode where it starts with him visiting his mother's grave kind of before all this Cobra Kai stuff started, and he's like a complete drunken loser, and he's like, yeah, I got in a fight at the Applebee's, I'm probably gonna go to jail, I just wanted to come by and like tell you I'm sorry, I haven't made something of myself. And then at the end it's like him returning, he's like, I'm married, I got a family, I'm like running a successful dojo, and it's like finally like being able to tell his mom that he did something to be proud of, that it kind of went full circle, and it's like, oh, I'm finally like a successful adult. And I mean, I've not seen him in a lot of stuff other than Cobra Kai recently, but I forgot how great of an actor fucking Billy Zabka is, because the emotion he showed like these final 5 episodes, like especially like with him and Kreese, and I was like, this dude's like a legit actor. Like, now that this show's over with, I want to see him being successful, like more stuff than just playing 80s bad guys and reformed 80s bad guys. I was like, oh, this dude actually is like really good at acting.
Yeah. No, I mean this season definitely got in the feels a little bit. At least for some of us with feels. I don't have any feels.
Yeah, I don't know if he's
just an asshole.
Pretty sure this next Karate Kid movie is a Daniel story, so I don't know if we'll see Johnny in the Cobra or whatever Karate Kid Legends or whatever it's called with Jackie Chan. Which it's been so long since I watched like the new Karate Kid movie with Jackie Chan. I didn't realize that like he's not Miyagi. He's Mr. Han. I totally forgot that. I mean, because it's almost the exact same story as the original Karate Kid. So I'm like, oh, this is just a reboot. No, he's like a different fucking character. He's not Miyagi. So I was like, how is he in this Karate Kid movie and also in the other Karate? I'm like, oh no, he's like actually not Miyagi. He's some other dude.
Yeah, I kind of expected some sort of a tie-in or something like that, with this, but I'm kind of glad they kept it separate. Yeah.
So yeah, we got no clues on what the new movie is going to hold other than what we've seen in the trailer so far. But yeah, no Johnny as far as I know. This looks like specifically a Daniel Jackie Chan story.
Well, speaking of Daniel, what about his arc this season?
Yeah, him.
Like he almost got pushed to the back burner a little bit to make room for everyone else in some regards, and I think that space was kind of refreshing.
Yeah, because he kind of took. Well, you got him first off. You get because his daughter's graduating and she's wanting to go to take a study abroad thing in Japan, and Daniel's mom comes to town and like gives her graduation gift is like this pearl necklace, and he's like, actually I got this from Miyagi. He gave it to me and told me I had to give it to her whenever the time felt right, and this feels right. And the whole like mystery of like the last season of like they find these reports about somebody being beat half to death and robbed, and the suspect is Mr. Miyagi and stuff, and he's like this was Miyagi's mother's necklace, or no, was it wife's necklace? Anyway, like I think it came from his mother, and then like she died in during World War II in a what do they call those camps?
Like an internment camp.
Yeah, internment camp, and then a guard stole the necklace, so he hunted him down to get his family necklace back and did what he had to do, and like Daniel's like, oh, he wasn't like a criminal, and this was him taking on a criminal and getting his mother's necklace back, and kind of like realized like, oh, what I thought of Miyagi was actually true. He wasn't, this bad guy that, and Miyagi had left the explanation with Daniel's mom, and kind of presented it at the correct time. Oh, and that kind of dream sequence he has before the fight where it's like him and Miyagi like fighting freaking ninjas in the backyard. Skeleton ninjas in the backyard. I was like, that's cool as shit. you never got to really see adult Daniel team up with Miyagi, even if it's like,
Ghost
CGI
Miyagi.
Body double Miyagi, but I was like, that was pretty cool. But then him kind of learning as a instructor, like to not just teach Miyagi-Do, but teaching what the student needs to learn. Like, so like when I like when that reveal when they all show up for the final fight and like everybody's in the Cobra Kai, even Daniel and Chosen, like are all Cobra Kai'd up, and him like trying to like give Johnny, Johnny's like not doing well, and like Chosen's like you got to do something. You got to, and he's like, Johnny's like, what school are you representing? He's like, huh? He's like, what dojo do you represent? Cobra Kai. He's like, then fucking act like it. He's like, is there any fear in your dojo? He's like, no. And he's like, is there any like mercy in here? He's like, I sure as fuck no, there's no like, pain or fear. And I was like, is there pain in your dojo? He's like, I sure no, fuck no, there's no like pain. He's like, so quit being a pussy and go out and kick this guy's ass. And he's like, yeah. It's like, I mean, totally like un-Daniel thing to say, but he's like, no, he needs to hear this.
Part of that is, knowing what your student needs at that time to be a good mentor, and, what's going to psych them up.
Yeah. And I just tell him, like, quit being a pussy and go kick this guy's ass. And I'm like, and then Johnny, same thing, like, finally takes Daniel's advice and doesn't like rush in and let him kind of come to him and finish him, let him do the charging and, and run into the techniques, and like, that fucking spinning back fist. I was like, oh yeah, that's a nice hit. But I was like, finally getting that, hoisting the trophy, and it's almost an exact flip flop of the first tournament where when Daniel wins, Johnny like, comes and gives him the trophy, and he's like, you're all right, LaRusso. And like this time it's like Daniel like, handing Johnny the trophy, and he's like, you're all right, Lawrence. It's like this almost mirror image of that. But yeah, that. Daniel giving him like the Cobra Kai speech I was like, hell yeah.
Daniel's got a set of balls. It was just weird, flashing back to the dealership, and no, we're not doing the bonsais. We're not doing any of this other stuff. We're just, I'm like, it's not going to be that way. I knew there would be some sort of a redemption.
Yeah. Something's got to drag him back in, But
it was, I don't know, I mean, to no defense or, offense to, Daniel's son or anything, but it was just kind of good just to make space for everything else to play out.
And now let's talk about our favorite ending storyline, Kreese and Silver. You get Silver, now that it's him having to fight, Johnny having to fight Wolf, Silver on his Bond villain yacht with his henchmen, and I love the way sometimes they set up stuff and then it's a completely like 180 on what you think is going to happen. And he's like, he's got a family now, he's got something to lose. Like I'm not leaving this up to chance. I want you to go kidnap his family and we'll make him lose the match. And it's like, oh yeah, typical 80s bad guy like plot. Like I'm going to hold the hero's family hostage and he has to rescue him. And the homeboy goes out to like, carry on his orders, and then you hear like a struggle, and all of a sudden dude comes like rolling down the steps with his like neck broke, and he's like, the fuck? And he like runs up on deck, and there's like Kreese just smoking a cigar, like, I just killed a man, I don't give a fuck, I'm having a cigar. I'm like, badass. And then fucking Silver like breaks the bottle, and he's like, come on, Terry, like we're warriors.
Have a little dignity.
He's like, we're warriors. Shouldn't we fight with honor? And he's like, no, we're warriors. We fight with whatever we got. And he's like, well, okay then. And throws a cigar in his face and then convinces us of fighting. And, and of course in this, like, fight, the gas tank for the whatever other boat gets like knocked over and gas is running everywhere, and looks like Silver's going to get the upper hand, and Kreese sees his cigar still lit on there and he grabs it and like chunks it to the gas can, and Silver's like, no, and he's like, mercy, and just blows, which you said offline the CGI was horrible in the explosion, but fucking Kreese like, no, I'm going to sacrifice myself for Johnny and make sure he finally has a fair fight. I'm not going to let you interfere with this shit. And he's like, this is like his final like redemption of doing something honorable. I'm going to sacrifice myself for my student and take this asshole with me. And I'm like, homeboy killed a guy with a cigar. I'm like, that's just no more badass way to for him to go out. And that was like not even the final episode. That was like the episode before the final. And I was like at the end of it, and I was like, holy shit. I'm sitting there in my chair going, that was fucking awesome. Yeah, I fully expected to do the cliche, like, let's hold the hero's family hostage and like, maybe somebody has to go rescue them so he finally gets to, like, no, it's like, we're just going to kill this motherfucker and let the final fight be a legit fight. And they didn't even bring in, like, the news of, like, Johnny finding out that Kreese was dead or anything. It's like, yeah, there's nothing on... He's not having to deal with anything other than his own fear of having to fight a guy who's already kind of kicked his ass once and is definitely good at getting in his fucking head before that final battle. But yeah, that Kreese went out like a fucking gangster. That was awesome.
On a funeral fire.
Yeah,
all right, so now we gotta buy a yacht, pour some gasoline, and see if it creates an explosion.
Not usually that immediate. I mean, probably explode eventually, but yeah,
that was so 80s cliche yes. though. Like just, little spark, big boom.
Yeah, yeah. Most time a lit cigarette like that, even a lit cigar, might not even like ignite the gas. I mean, it had been spilt out for a while, so fumes are a lot more explosive than like liquid gasoline.
But but it also wasn't in a contained area. It was open,
on the deck of a ship. I mean, probably, I thought like, it's going to catch on fire and dude's going to burn and they're going to be like fighting on this burning ship. But no, that was like an immediate like explosion.
The tournament looking like Two-Face or something, like I'm all burned up, but I'm still here.
Yeah, I was like, waiting for like, Kreese to wash up on the shore or something. But yeah, it was like, no, it's like, nope. we're wrapping up this storyline right here.
There's a reason you don't see a body.
He shows up in the movie as like Robo Kreese. Wow. Sorry, I saw the new RoboCop was on the cigar shop last night. It's fresh in my head. Oh. What about... I loved, before we wrap things up, Johnny taking Chosen to the wine tasting. And speaking of 80s people, they're... The girl they try to hook him up with is... what's her name from Saved by the Bell. And she's like, oh yeah, I study Reiki and he's Asian. He's like, yes, we have a word for that in Japan. It's called bullshit. And she's like, I also do tarot cards. He's like, yes, also bullshit. Fucking drunk Chosen, like talking depressed Chosen because his got a letter from he finally confessed his love to homegirl from Cobra Kai, Karate Kid 2, and she's like, I love you as a friend. And he's like, he's all depressed. We're like, we gotta get Chosen laid.
We gotta get him out of the friend zone.
Yeah, but yeah, that he's like, oh yes, Rigi. Bullshit. But she does. They finally start talking. She reads him his tarot cards. But yeah, because he hooked up last season with freaking Kim, and when everyone getting their happy ending, you got Johnny. His Cobra Kai becomes so popular after winning the tournament that it's like,
now we have to have a chain of dojos.
Yeah, it's like it's like we're actually like at capacity, but we're fixing to open another dojo down the road, and he finally makes enough money that he can, because he'd been struggling trying to find a house, for his family, and now he's like successful enough that he's like, I can finally buy that house, and we're not stuck in these shitty apartments, and I've got a successful dojo and all that stuff, and Daniel's daughter goes off to Japan, and Miguel's like, yeah, like I don't have to start college for a few weeks. I'm gonna come to Japan with you, and those two don't break up, even though she's going halfway across the world. The fucking karate bros, Hawk and what are Eli?
That was the one thing I missed.
They end up like
we didn't get a screeching hawk noise.
Yeah, it's like we get the schools together, I transferred to your school because they got a better program than me, so they're homies. And then you get Tori, like she's like, oh my god, I'm like signing autographs because I'm the champ, and then she gets like some basically martial arts supplies, like, yeah, we want to sponsor you, we want you to be a sponsored athlete, and we're going to pay you like a shitload of money. And like, oh shit. And then Robbie's like, and she's like, oh yeah, and we have a contract for you too. And he's like, what? They're like, yeah, knees heal. We've seen what you did before your injury. Like, you're an athlete that we want to, because he had struggles, because they're like, because of his kind of criminal past and stuff, he couldn't get into college, and worried that he was going to end up like kind of like a loser like his father because he couldn't get into a good school. And then it's like, oh no, now I'm like going to be a fucking martial arts athlete, and like him and Tori get to kind of going on tour together, making a bunch of money, kicking ass, and representing whatever sponsorship they had. And then you even get chosen. He's like, I'm gonna go to Korea and hook up with that Cobra Kai chick some more. It's like everybody got like their little happy ending at the end. I like it, the Daniel and Johnny having lunch together at the Japanese, and like a fly starts flying, and Daniel's like, flashback to the
the Miyagi with chopstick.
And he's getting ready to like try to grab the fly with a chopstick, and Johnny just comes in and like slaps the fly, and he's like, no mercy. I'm like, yes.
I don't know. One of the things that I thought was cool is in preparation for the fight where they had the fucking VR headsets and the program.
Oh, yeah, that was cool.
Trying to, throw some modern technology, into things. And I'm like, man, VR can be so disorienting. Like,
especially if the lag time, if you don't have like a fast enough system where it's like you move and it's like just that just slight pause enough to like slow it down. It's like, I wonder how well that would work with a live fighting thing, because it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna program all of Axel's moves into this system, and it's gonna like tell Miguel what to do, that so he fights like Axel, but in your VR headset you see you're fighting, and it's like giving it's like somehow your odds are getting lower, dude. And then Daniel has to like psych him up, and he finally like, he was doing all right till he got his knee broke.
Yeah, for sure. But I don't, to me that was just kind of cool. I was like, all right, a little use of some modern technology.
It's like, I want to play that. That's a game I want to play. That'd be. It's like you're sparring, but you're like, you could be fighting ninjas and shit. I'm like,
I need to bring my
badass game
VR headset, because I've got some zombie killing games and stuff like that, and just put you out in the middle of the yard and be like, have fun.
I've seen, and I don't remember the name of the program, but they have some like competition shooting VR programs now where it's like, you're at a range shooting like steel targets, and it's like a legit like IDPA match, but in VR. I'm like, that looks pretty fucking cool. I'd like to try that.
The only thing is, certain games where you have to hold a firearm and rack the slide and slap the magazines and do all of that with the controllers. It's not all that great. It's like, man, they need like a VR, pistol where the slide actually racks and,
Well, this one, it had like a...
And maybe they got something like that.
This program I saw advertising, I can't remember the name of it. It had like almost like a blue gun with a Oculus controller attached to it. So you did have like, you were holding like a legit gun. It just had like the Oculus controls kind of built into the fake gun. So you weren't just using the Oculus controllers to manipulate a virtual gun. You had like a legit like plastic gun in your hand to manipulate.
Oh, that would be so much better then. Because I'm like, here's my magazine, here's my gun. Hold on, the magazine is through the gun, not in the gun.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up and see if I can find it. But yeah, this one actually had like a VR gun.
But swords and stuff work really well in VR.
Yeah. So as we kind of wrap this up, this Violition America, it's good. It's definitely on the stronger side. I'm
kind of disappointed I'm not trying that then. Hearing your feedback that it's not
medium
just
plus, and it's not... It's consistent. There's not like a lot of like... It's earthy, a little bit of oaky. It's fucking windy as shit out there too, apparently.
I was trying to figure out if that was wind or if that was maybe a car driving by.
No, it's I can hear the wind chimes outside. It sounds like it's but yeah, there's not a lot of transition. It's kind of bold, like I said, a little bit earthy, a little bit of pepper, but it's kind of stayed consistent, that flavor throughout, which is kind of nice. And I wouldn't call it like full strength, but it's definitely on the plus side of medium plus. So, and they come in a red, white, and blue box. So depending on which wrapper you get. So yeah, I'd like to try the Habano one as well, because I do like a Habano cigar occasionally. I mean, Connecticut's probably a little light, but the Maduro's good. I haven't tried the Habano yet. I'll probably give that one a try next. So any final thoughts on Cobra Kai? Do you have a favorite fight?
I mean, dude, for what it was, the Kreese and Silver fight was up there. But I don't, the Lawrence and other dude,
Sensei Wolf.
Yeah, Sensei Wolf. The snippets of other shit during the fight kind of took me out of that a little bit. I gotta say, I think probably my favorite was probably Tori's fight.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Like, she had, I felt like, so much more skin in the game, just...
Yeah, she needed that kind of closure of not only winning, but kicking that bitch's ass. But so far, this whole series, my favorite fight has been either Johnny and Chosen taking on Silver's bad guys at his house, or the fucking karate riot from like the last episode of part 2 of season 6.
I didn't know we were going that far back.
But as far as just this season, yeah, that Tori fight was excellent. I mean, the Miguel and Axel fight was okay, but yeah, the Johnny Wolf fight was good, even though they were back to that kind of point sparring style where it's like one hit and it's like separate. But yeah, the Tori fight was just badass. I mean, she was doing some crazy like fucking acrobatic kicks and shit. I mean, some of the best kicks she's done.
And I don't know, this just it was so cool just not seeing the action stop every time you scored a point. You just kept going.
Yeah, I like how they did that in the previous fights up until that final match. Yeah, it's like the continuous fighting is a lot cooler way of at least a lot more cinematic way of doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any tournaments that actually do that, but I would love to try that. Well, that's all we got for you this week. You can bow out and get off the mat, and we'll be right back with some science. And you've been watching the Cigar Nerds podcast. Check us out on cigarnerdpodcast.com and on the ESO Network, esonetwork.com. And don't forget, smoke them if you got them. Like, comment, and subscribe.